Everybody, welcome to This Board Game Life, episode number 42, titled Here a Con, There a Con. I am one of your fine hosts for this evening, this day. My name is Rob, and with me, as always, I got my good buddy, Mark.
Hey, Rob, how you doing this evening, as you claim, even though it's like 9 a.m. my time?
Well, it's always
That's
evening.
Quite the time difference we have between the West Coast, between the state of Washington and the state of Illinois.
Washington, yeah.
Washington.
I'm pretending that we recorded last night. So,
in that case, let's hurry it up so I can go back to bed.
I know, right? Yeah. But anyway, this is a game about board games. Anything else we want to talk about? Right?
Just board games.
Yeah. Or anything else. We'll go with that too. Maybe even some video games. We'll talk about towels. No, that's that other show.
That's that other show.
Anyway, yeah.
Can't do that, Rob.
I know, right? All right. So let's hit the ground running. What have you been playing lately? I think your list is about as long as mine.
It's very different from the previous episodes.
Yeah.
This last 2 weeks has not really allowed me to play much of anything other than I got in one game of Wingspan. I played this with my youngest son, and my mother she actually won.
Oh, wow.
But,
nice.
well, yeah, I mean, I was telling her what to do, teaching her how to play, but I don't think she cared for it as much. It's just too much, I think.
Yeah, there's more to it.
Yeah, there's, I think it's similar to Dog Park, but she felt like she could focus on one thing, even though, like I said, Dog Park, when you're working on recruiting, you still need to look ahead and like, how does it affect the walking part and the home part and, your victory points. But it was just, she could focus on, let's just worry about getting the dogs in the kennel, recruiting your dogs. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, now I need to do this. And then I need to do where Wingspan, it's like, okay, it's kind of all happening at once. Everything's always going on. So, but she liked it, but she just found it a bit too challenging for her. So, which makes sense. And I kind of expected that, but I wanted to try it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like the game. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's something, if you keep, introducing her to new games and stuff like that, you can revisit it later on, maybe when she's a little more ready for something like that. Maybe too early. Yeah.
But the good thing is too, it's like it's gives her something to do, and it's something different. And, it's like, it's not about, it's like, I just sit there and go through it. Oh, well, let's like, maybe you should do this, or that I would do this if I was you, type of thing. And she's like, okay. So she's learning how it kind of works. And, we're just having a good time, just spending time together and doing something different. So,
oh, for sure.
That's kind of the beauty, I think, of board games.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So that's all, huh?
Yeah, sorry. And I was supposed to play Parks. I said last time that this was going to come off my shelf of shame, and it was real close, but I've had my daughter got sick. Actually, well, that's kind of the biggest problem is my daughter got sick 2 weeks ago. She had strep throat. So we had to quarantine from her. And she's kind of my main board game player. My youngest son he'd rather watch TV or play video games. And so it's like, okay, we won't play this yet. We'll wait till she gets better. Well, then this past weekend, after she went through all her meds and everything, she was still running a fever. She started running a fever again. So I had to take her back into the clinic, and they're like, oh yeah, she still has strep. Oh, and now she has influenza type B.
Sweet.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So she is basically home all this week, resting on medication. I'm keeping her away from everybody. So yeah, that really affected our ability to get kind of games played. So So I'm
Oh,
sure she'll be
absolutely.
ready to hit the table, and so will I as soon as she actually gets over it. But we've got a little ways in front of us before we can do that. And I haven't played at my with my board game group because work has interrupted that. But I have been able to successfully rearrange that call so that I can get back to my board game groups on Wednesday nights, and I can play that. Oh, I did forget. I did get one thing in. I did go out to um, one of my. I go to two. There's two local gaming stores. There's one to the north, one to the south of me. So I went to the one south of me the other day, and I did get in on it's like a beginning D&D game, and it's like I don't ever get to play. I'm always like when I've played with my kids, it's like I've got to run the game, so I got to be the DM. So I was like, I want to play, and they were doing the kind of the starting campaign. It seems like everyone starts with the Lost Mines of Fandelver. And it's like, okay, I've been through part of this with my kids, but it's like, it's okay. I'm going to go see how someone else DMs because, like, I've never done that. I was having to figure it out on my own. So I did go do that. And so I did get to play some D&D. I don't know if that counts as a board game because it's not
Yeah.
really a board
Yeah.
game, but it's still a game. So I did play some of that, but only once.
Okay.
We didn't get very far because it was like there were some new people learning, as well as me. I'm still trying to learn it, but I've got.
Right.
I think I had the basics down. Enough that I'm just like I just want to kill.
Ah,
you know, I think the hard part of that game is like this DM was like, okay, well we're starting out, we're in town. What do you he's like, what do you want to do? And everyone's like looking at each other, and I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, I've got everything I need. Like, I've already got this character we've already played. He's played once, not in this campaign, but I did get a friend of mine hosted one for me at my house, and we did a kind of a dungeon thing that he had set up. So I got to play once, and I had fun with it. So I'm like, I'm ready to just go. Let's go. Let's go kill. To me, the exciting part of D&D is the battling, the killing people and looting, and that's the fun part. And it was like, and then there was some kids there, and they were just like, well, do you want to trade this, and what kind of stuff is at the shop, and can I buy a crossbow? And I'm just like, the DM's trying to be nice about, well, you're in a farming town, they have farming equipment, and
by a
but it
shovel.
was really slow. It was a real slow night. That was my only complaint, was like, it was too slow. Come on, gotta speed it up. So, but it was fun that my little dragon dude got to go out and kill a gnome and gut him, stick his sword straight up through his skull.
Yeah.
So I did get that. I forgot about that.
Yeah. That counts. I'll say that counts.
It is you are at a table and you are playing a game. May not have a board, but
I would say, like, if it's at a con, it can apply. So technically,
all
like,
right.
even at Gen Con, they have video games there.
Well, in that case,
But we're not talking. But no talk of LARPing does not count.
well, I will say one thing. I will mention one video game because that has consumed my time this week, and that is Hogwarts Legacy. I think that's the name of it. Yeah, Legacy. And I am not a Harry Potter fan. I've never read the books. I did finally get through the movies. Actually, this week, my daughter and I was like, in fact, I think it was the day that she was diagnosed. And she's like, are you going to make me stay in my bedroom for the next 10 days? And I was like, yep. But then my son is staying, my youngest son is at his grandma's because they're off school yesterday and today. and I got to pick him up tonight. But I'm like, well, while he's gone, you can be up in the living room if you want and watch TV up there and lay on the couch and get out of your room. But I said, once your brother's back, you're going to have to kind of stick to your room to keep those two apart. And so we actually finished like the last Harry Potter movie, and because my kids love that books, they've read the books, they've watched the movies a million times. I finally have gotten through the movies. Um, yeah, I would not watch them again. So, but I was kind of curious about the video game because from what I saw, it looked interesting the first time I watched it. And I was watching like the combat. I'm like, this looks really interesting. This looks like this could be fun. And then I was like, but then it was like, seemed like a ton of story stuff. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not interested in this. So, but then after it came out, just there were so many people talking about this game, like just raving about it and how good it was. So I was like, you know what? I went and was like, let me go back and watch some people play. And so I was kind of checking a few different people out playing it. And then I was like, this does look interesting. And so I'm like, I bit the bullet and bit the wand, maybe would be the appropriate, right? Bit the wand.
Sure.
Bought the game. And this is one of the best video games, personally, I think, that I have played in a very long time. And it's because first of all, there are a few like bugs, but I haven't run into anything game breaking. I haven't run into it's just like visual stuff that I'm sure they'll patch and kind of correct. But the story's really good. The missions are, for the most part, are very fun. The wand combat in all the different spells you can get, aligned with like the puzzle parts where you're doing different things. It's like, okay, which spell do I use here? And then different things happen at night. There's things you can only do at night, things you can only do in the day. There's, you're going to class to learn spells, doing things for your instructors to get more powerful. And it's just everything it's just done really, really good. Like the game is a lot of fun, and it's a huge map, but they've got this really good way to fast travel. So if you can go out and explore if you want by flying on your broom or running around, but you can fast travel if you've been to that area. And it's just overall, the game is fantastic. It is a great video game. So if and I would assume people that might listen to the show probably may play video games as well. And I don't want to spend a lot of time. We're not going to turn this into a video game thing, but if you like video games and you like kind of open world, you're gonna level up your character. You're gonna get gear and clothing, and it's more powerful, and you're going to get more powerful spells. And if you like that type of game, definitely check this thing out. It is very good game. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Okay. Don't miss out. Back to the board game.
Okay. I was just looking it up online. I saw a little bit on it, and it looked interesting, but I'm not into that stuff like you.
It's really good. I do skip a lot of dialogue. I do have like subtitles on it because I find that I can kind of skim the dial.
it's a lot quicker.
And then I just hit the Y button to like skip. Because I'm like, just like when I was playing D&D, it was like, dude, let's just get to the killing. I want to play. I want to, and the combat in this game is a lot of fun. And I'm just like, this is great. It's fun to have a game that's just a lot of fun to play, just like a board game. It's like, you get all these games, and sometimes you play one, and it's just like, But then you find that one, you're just like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is so much fun. And you want to tell everyone about it. And that's the way I feel about Hogwarts Legacy. It's like, I know it's a video game and this isn't a video game podcast, but it's something I'm really enjoying so much. for and I'm who's not a fan of that series. And I'm absolutely just I think I've got 20 hours into it so far, and there's no sign of stopping. so so don't miss out.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. Okay. For me, just, it's been real busy. I got one game in, and it's an oldie but a goodie. It's one of my like more favorite older games. It wasn't Azul,
Yeah.
thankfully. It's been a while since I played that, a couple weeks now. But it was Downfall of Pompeii. I don't know if, well, I know I've talked about this like way back when, probably like episode 10 or something like that. But Downfall of Pompeii, it's an older game. It's been around forever. I forgot who the designer was, but it's one of those games that has like two.
Klaus Jorgen Reed,
Yeah, yeah,
something like that. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong.
yeah. I believe isn't he the one that did Carcassonne?
Yes, that's what it
Yeah.
says. Yeah.
And the cool thing about this game is that it's actually like what I'll call a two-parter. There's some games that initially they have one type of game to them, and then it changes, and then you're like playing some other kind of game. Like there's a very simplistic version of it where you might be, let's say, like collecting resources in the first half of a game, and then you're building stuff with those resources in the second half of the game. That's a very simplistic version. What this one does is, so it's set in the town of Pompeii in Europe, or Italy specifically.
Italy.
And this is the one that had that unfortunate
Yeah. Mount
accident
Vesuvius.
with Mount Vesuvius. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so the map, or the game board, is actually a map of the city of Pompeii. And there's a volcano, which is actually three-dimensional. So there's this thing that you build. It's like a little cone that you put in part of the map. And the first half of the game, what you're basically doing is you're putting your players, your like people, into the various buildings of the city. And then at a certain point, it switches, and then the volcano erupts. And now you're basically trying to get everybody out of the city. And you direct lava flow to help trap your opponent. Like there's exits on different sides of the city, so you're basically trying to move your dudes out while your opponent is trying to move theirs out and also block you in, and so forth. And the really fun, I'll say, most satisfying part of this is, like, let's say, like, if you and I were playing, I'll take your little dude that just perished in the lava, right?
Yeah.
And then you drop them in the volcano. That's how you like get rid of them. So it's like very satisfying. Like you take somebody's little dude and you're staring at him right in the eyes. You're like, I got him, and you just chuck it in the volcano with a huge smile. Like it's it's fun. It's actually um, it's a very simple game for the most part. It's like one thing that you'll find, Mark, is like the games that are older are a lot simpler than new games,
Yeah.
and this one's a lot of fun. And it's cool that it's basically like two games in one. So Downfall of Pompeii is a game that I played. Of course, I won. That's what you get for teaching the game and being the only one who knows the rules, right?
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, and it's definitely one that I'm hanging on to. I don't think there's been a reprint of this thing forever, so I don't know if it's even available nowadays, but it's really good and enjoyed it. Double thumbs up. All right.
I'm not even sure how to like. I almost feel weird about it because like I've been to Pompeii. It's like they still have like bodies that were
Yeah.
encased in the ash and stuff like that still there.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yeah, it's there's. I've got pictures of it. I can show you sometime. Like, yeah, it's like this was a tragedy, and it's like now turned into a game. It almost seems like, I mean, I guess there's a bunch of war games out there, right? But
No,
I don't
it's
know.
no games. Basically, they you know pick a theme. Sometimes the theme is pasted on. Sometimes it's a little more, how should I say, applicable to the game. But you could basically like switch any of these games into something, but into something else rather than what it is. They just chose something historic,
Yeah,
and uh, and they did a nice job.
cool.
So anyway, so moving on, we got two things to kind of talk about. So you want to start this first one?
So I'm curious because I know that you've gone to I don't know if you've gone to a lot of cons, but we'll say con like convention, right? But I know you've gone to Gen Con a lot. You used to talk about it
Yeah.
on our
Mhm.
other show, and I've never. The only con I've attended was PAX Prime. I guess it used to call it PAX West. Now it's PAX Prime, I think is what they call it here in Seattle. I got to go a couple years ago, and it was like my first convention. I've always wanted to do like E3 down in LA, the big video game show, which is pretty much dead now. Um, Never got to go, but I went to PAX, and it was a lot of fun. Like my first time there, it was like, well, it was my only time. I've only got to go once, but it was overwhelming. Like, and I
Sure.
don't know if it's the same for a. And I want to keep this on to board games. I'm not trying to
Right.
turn this back into a video game show, but the only con I went to was basically around video games. But they did have board games there too, um, and and I'll kind of talk about that, which I found interesting. But so at PAX Prime, first time I went, like I was like there was so much going on. There's a lot of flashing lights and a lot of noises because all the video games are being demoed and played, and it was just like it was like overload. Like
Sure.
I couldn't even like stare at something. I was like, you're looking around, and it's like you can't even focus on anything because as you trying to, it was like as I'm trying to look at something, like there's another noise or another light or another something is catching your attention constantly,
Right.
and it's just like your head's on a swivel constantly. And then you'll be like, I have no idea what I just look. I got to look again. you know? Um, and I was interested. I thought it was interesting to find that you could buy board games there and that they had board game vendors there, and they even had a library that you could go into and check out board games and then go into all these different rooms that were in the convention hall and play board games. And then it was really neat. So now that I'm like into the board game hobby, my thoughts, and we're you and I think we talked about this last time, we're going to go to Gen Con this year. So I'm actually going to go down to Gen Con and meeting several friends of ours that we have. So I'm really excited. Probably more about all of us getting together than
Yeah.
actually
No.
going to the con, but I'm excited to go to Gen Con this year and experience what it is. Because my understanding, and I know there's a ton of like board game conventions all over the place.
Sure.
I think we have one here in Seattle coming up in March. Um, and I need to kind of dig into that to see what maybe something I can go to. But um, is Gen Con the main board game one? Because like I thinking of this again as like E3 was like the big one for the US, and then
Sure.
like Gamescom was like the big video game convention in Europe, and then there was what Tokyo Game Show, you know. So here in the US, what would you say is probably the main board game convention? And then like what other ones have like maybe you've been to or you're aware of that might be worth people checking out?
Yeah. So when it comes to cons, there's a number of different kinds, and I'll kind of like break them down here by type. The smallest ones are just ones that people, have like little get-togethers. They can be like really small, community based, and just people that all know each other. Sometimes they're at a house, sometimes they're in a rented space. It all depends. So I'll call that like the smallest, possibly the entry level one. Those are usually the most accessible ones for people because they're oftentimes within a city, within an area, and people can go over there for just a day. Not a big deal. There are more regional ones. Like one that comes to mind, I'll say I'll call this a regional kind, and that's Grand Con, which is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and that is a smaller con. It's been a number of years in the making. Man, I think they're probably close to like 8-10 years now that they've been having it. So every year they get bigger and bigger and bigger. uh, so that again is more easily accessible because it's regional, right? So people from the area, like I live in the Chicago area, going over to Grand Con is like just a couple hour drive. Um, and it's something you could easily go to and, for the day and come back home probably as well. Not commit yourself to staying there for a couple of days.
Yeah.
The larger cons, these are the ones that I'll call like the biggest one in the States is going to be Gen Con, right? So that's probably the most well known. It's been around forever. It started off in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, just basically doing D&D.
Okay.
Um, and then it kind of grew. They went to Milwaukee for a number of years, and then wound up in Indianapolis, which they've been to. It's been in Indy for I don't know how many years. It's quite a while, and for a couple more, because they keep signing like 5-year agreements down there. But anyway, so Gen Con, the thing that's a little bit different compared to the previous ones that I mentioned, is the smaller ones and even the regional ones. They tend to be more focused on gaming. Okay, so you go there and you're basically playing games. Uh, Convention like Gen Con definitely does have that, but they also have a very large retail presence. So you can go over there and basically see the latest games that just came out. You can see the games that are coming out in the near future. And you can also even get some games. Well, this is tending to be less and less now, in the post-pandemic world. But it used to be like, you would go to Gen Con, and I'll just pick a company at random, like Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flight would come out with whatever game that's hot for that year. Like I'll use like X-Wing, that X-Wing miniatures game
Oh yeah.
that's been out for quite a few years. So if you went to Gen Con, you could actually pick up a copy of it, or you could wait like another 4, 5, 6 months before it got into retail, and then see if you could actually get it. So it also had the advantage of getting games before they're like real huge public release. Um, into retail, because games have to be produced. They come usually from China. They have to come across on container ships, then they have to go into distribution. So they go from the ports to distribution, and then they get distributed out to the stores, so it just takes a long time. But I kind of got sidetracked off on that a little bit. But going back to what I was saying, they have a high retail presence, and you can actually do a lot of buying. You can see a lot of new stuff because the manufacturers are there. Now, of the large conventions in the United States, I would say Gen Con is probably the biggest. And then there's PAX Unplugged and a number of other ones that are also pretty popular, right? The Gen Con, in my eyes, is the king of the hill, right? They've
Okay.
got the biggest attendance, and they're the most widespread, I guess. And what I mean by that is like they'll do everything, right? You can do your D&D, you can play your Magic the Gathering, you can do your board game stuff. They have tons of tournaments. Um, You can do your cosplay stuff, your LARPing, whatever. It's there's something for everybody there. Whether you just want to participate on the retail side, um, whether you want to do tournaments, whether you want to, check out the new games that are going to be coming out in the next year or two. There's something for you definitely there. Uh, and it's also, I'll say, family friendly. And what I mean by that is just that there's stuff there for kids as well.
Okay.
I know, like our kids, if they were a lot younger than they are right now, if they're all like, 7, 8 years old, they're bored as heck watching us play board games, right? And, a lot of the stuff isn't necessarily their speed, being at a young age, just because complex games and, things without like superheroes and stuff like that, there's not much interest there. So alternatively, there are other fairly well-known uh, conventions. Like one that comes to mind is Origins Game Fair. That one is in Ohio, and that one is mainly focused on playing. So less retail,
Okay.
more tabletop gaming focused. And that's where you basically go to kind of, I mean, I believe there is some retail. I've never been to that one. Always thought about it, but never pulled the trigger on it. And that one is like if you go there for like 2 3 days, you're playing games like all day, or you can, right? If that's what you want to do. And then globally, I think the biggest, which and it's even bigger than Gen Con, is the Spiel in Essen, Germany, and or that
Yep.
one is like the big dog. It's been around forever. It's just massive, and
Huh.
there's a huge game presence. All the retailers are there, and from what I understand, there is less gaming done over there compared to Gen Con, and that's specifically because of like one thing mainly. So at the European show, everything shuts down after the convention closes. I mean, basically, you're done. The difference with Gen Con is that that facility is 24 hours. So when the hall closes at 5 o'clock, people still stay. And there's these huge gaming halls that you can go to
Oh wow.
that you can, I mean, this is where all the tournaments and the gaming happens.
Yeah.
Like you can get your ticket to try out, I don't know, X Wing or something like that. There might be like a get together for X Wing, and then you just go over there at your designated time, and then you can play for like 2 hours or whatever it is. Um, and in that area, that's usually where I would go, and whatever games I bought or whatever we have. Sometimes we bring games over there because you never know what's going to happen or what you might want to play, and then you just plop down in an empty area and you do your game playing. But the one thing that I will say with what you had mentioned earlier about being overwhelmed to the one that you went to, and I can definitely see that. There's a lot going on. It more so happens, I think, the first time that you go, and it's probably the first time that you go to any convention. It's just so overwhelming. There's a lot, everything's new, right? You don't know where you're
Yeah.
going, you don't know anything. The second time you go, let's say like the second year that you go, now you're familiar with it, right? You know where the bathrooms are, you know where the lunch is, you know places for lunch.
Yeah.
Um, you know where you can hang out, like the companies that you want to see. It's like, do you want to see the role playing companies? Do you want to go to the Fantasy Flight booth? And like some of these booths have huge lines to even get into them. So you
Oh
might be
wow.
waiting like an hour or more in a queue line to just get into like the Fantasy Flight store, although now it might be part of Asmodee after they got acquired. I don't remember. But it's it's an experience, and after you go the first time, it will be overwhelming just because everything's new, and then second time, it's like no problem. At least I think it is, because at that point, it's like, well, this area over here, it's got all the steampunk clothes. Don't care about that.
Yeah.
But oh, I might want to go to the cool stuff area because they have games to sell, older games to sell at a discount. So I might want to check them out, see if there's something I want to pick up. But um, so you had a question like half an hour ago before I started going off on my 40 tangents. Did I kind of answer it at all for you, or
Yeah, no, I do. I think you did a really good job of answering that because you kind of mentioned smaller ones, larger ones, what to
yeah?
expect. Um, yeah, I think you kind of just and I did find a site called meeplemountain.com, and they actually are talking about conventions. They actually have a article that was written back way back in 2017, but this is they must update this every so often because it's the title, the 2022-2023 guide to board game conventions, and they've got actually list an updated list. It was actually just updated on February 19th,
Hmm.
2023. So they have a worldwide board game convention list, but they also talk about like small versus
Sure.
large. They actually listed some of these things that you were talking about, like the Origins in Ohio, that's in Columbus, and they said that averages around 20,642 attendees. Gen Con's around 60,000. And then Spiel is like 174,000 people. That's
Now,
almost three
yeah.
times the size of Gen Con.
Now, one thing is, I think they count the people a little differently because there's turnstile counting, and I believe that's like you count like each day individually, and then you could also count like, well, how many passes did you sell? So
Oh, okay.
if you bought a 3 day and I bought a 1 day, that's two people, right?
Right.
Or you could count it as four, right? Depending
So
on how many people go per day.
so Spiel doesn't okay, so Origins and Gen Con list attendees.
Yeah,
Spiel just says about 174,000.
yeah,
It doesn't list it as attendees. So
yeah.
I'm
They might
guessing
not
Gen
even
Con is that's
disclose
how
it.
many badges they sold.
Yeah.
Same with Ohio, their Origins. UK Games Expo says about 21,698 attendees. So since those are like actual numbers compared to Spiel just says 174,000, doesn't say attendees. So probably like what you said. That's probably how many people have gone through the turnstiles over the time frame.
Yeah,
Where
over been
60,000
there.
attendees could be 60,000 people coming 4 days. That's 100 what 100 no 240,000
Yeah,
people, or not people but counting if like if you did the turnstile. So yeah, I guess that's not a good way of judging the size of it.
yeah.
Good point.
And one thing too to mention is, I know people have different tolerances for, you know, being in crowds and so forth. So, going to the larger conventions, you got to have the expectation that, there's going to be tons of people around you. You're going to get bumped into a lot. You're going to be waiting for things. When you go to a smaller con, that diminishes. I mean, you still might be waiting for things, but, you know, you might be in a place with 1,000 people or a couple hundred versus, somewhere where you're in a hall with 10,000 people. So that's a thing to consider. Like, I like crowds. Well, I take that back. I don't mind
Yeah.
crowds. I don't necessarily like everybody that's around me, but um, yeah, it's just a whole different experience. And then when you go to Gen Con, to me, that is something that's more of like a vacation, right? It's kind of like a destination. You don't go there, like, especially if you fly in, you don't go there for like a day. Even though I have done that, I've actually. left like 1 year. I only had like 1 day to get down there, so I'm like, I'm gonna go. So Wednesday night, Thursday morning, I hit the road at like 4 in the morning, and I drove to Indianapolis, which is like a couple hours from Chicago. I spent the day there, and then I forgot when I left in the evening, but I just drove back home.
Oof.
It was rough. It was a lot of driving. I was really freaking tired.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, but yeah, but when you go to the bigger conventions, I think it's something that you definitely want to do for a couple of days. It's like going to Walt Disney World, right? Um,
Yeah. I'm
versus
I'm worried
America.
about all the walking though. Like I know when I went to PAX in Seattle, it was a day. It was a full day,
Hmm.
and my feet were pretty tore up
Yeah,
the
bring
next day. And I was like,
good
I
shoes.
got a 4 day pass for Gen Con.
Yeah,
So I told my daughter she's going with, and it's like, okay, we got to get out and start walking. We got to really get some steps in every day to start building up and prepping for this massive convention we're going to be.
that's a good
Otherwise, we ain't
idea.
going to survive past 1 day.
Yeah, there was 1 year that we went where that was on their 50th anniversary. So it was like 2018, I think, 17, 18, something like that. And
No.
what they had is these buttons that they were giving out that were like celebratory for, the anniversary of Gen Con. And so it was like I think it was on Thursday. So it was the opening day of the convention. Once we found out about the buttons, all of a sudden, because we went there with the kids, and the kids had to have the buttons, and you have to collect them. There's like 20 of them. You have to collect them in a certain order. So they have a map, and it's not like the shortest distance. It's like you're walking from one side of the convention to the other side. Now you're going over, outside by the food trucks. Then you're like going over to the Lucas Oil Stadium. It had you like trucking all over that day. And this is an exception. It's not like common. But that day, in addition to the normal walking and then walking all over for the stuff, we did over 40,000 steps that day. That was a lot. That was a couple miles at least. Um, I forget how many steps there is on your typical mile, but 40,000. It was like 42 or 46,000 is what I did. And my feet hurt. And it's still, to me, it's questionable on if the buttons were worth it because I don't think any of the kids cared about them after they got them all.
Yeah, that's the sad thing,
Yeah,
huh?
but we got them. So, there's that. But yeah, be prepared to walk, be prepared to stay hydrated. That's a huge thing. Drink the water, bring water bottle or whatever. Um, Stay hydrated because dehydration will just annihilate you, especially on like day 2 or 3. And yeah, that's there was something else I was going to mention about it, but I totally forgot what it was. But it'll be exciting. It's going to be exciting. Um, it's definitely like a vacation with a
Oh
cool
yeah.
destination. I don't know if it'll be like that for your daughter, but it probably would definitely will be for you. It is for me. And as long as she's willing to go, that's one thing. Like I think I told you that I've been going with a mutual friend of ours and our kids, and we turned it into like an annual thing
Yeah.
where it's like every August, beginning of August, um, you know, we kind of trek down there, and the kids go. It's I don't know how many years we've done it, but it'll be cool to grow our circle of people doing that, and hopefully our kids will keep doing it. And I'm all for going. definitely. Hopefully they won't have any kinds of restrictions or anything this year. It doesn't look like they will, but you never know. And we haven't gone for a couple of years, so it'll be good to be going back, and especially having you and your daughter go. That makes it extra awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Cool.
Do you have anything else on that, or did we kind of like
No,
beat that to death?
no, that was just. I'm excited to go, so I was
Yeah.
just kind of curious about your thoughts on the different things. So
Hmm. Yeah. So I think you started off asking which is the best one to attend. But you can look at it a couple of ways. If you want to go all in and probably make it a destination thing, almost like a little mini vacation, board game themed vacation, you can do Gen Con. There's other ones that are like smaller that you can also do the same thing for. They're scattered around the country. There's even cruises. Board Game Geek has one down in Texas that's supposed to be awesome, and a lot of these sell out like immediately. But the cruises might be something interesting too if you like doing cruises. But the regional ones, they're probably the easiest to do, especially if it's close to your house, so you can go back and forth. Um, Going to something like Gen Con, it's more an investment, like especially if you have to pay for hotel and airfare, and if you're bringing multiple people, you know, the costs of it definitely increase. So just pick what you like. Do you want to get a taste of it, right? Maybe do the more local stuff. If you want to do the big thing, experience overwhelming gaming goodness, then Gen Con I think is freaking awesome. But I love the retail aspect of it, in addition to the gaming. So that's why I personally like it. If you like only just if you really just want to do gaming, then maybe look at some of the smaller ones, or like the Board Game Geek or Origins. Not that Origins is much smaller, but it is. Anyway, so the thing that I wanted to mention is I found myself in this interesting little scenario recently where you know there is a completionist aspect to board gaming, and I've kicked some of that habit. And by completionist, do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, yep.
Um, okay. Yeah, I think Yeah, we had some conversation. So basically, what I mean by that is like, you get a game, and then all of a sudden you have to have every expansion. I'm not even
Marvel
talking about
United.
Kickstarter. Yeah, exactly. Like I'll use like a game like Agricola, right? You can really get caught up in getting all the little card packs and everything like that. You know, we played that one game, Stone Age. Yeah, there's like two expansions for it that are out, or is the one or two? Anyway, there's an expansion for that. It's like, gotta have it, gotta have it. And in the end, it's like, how much do you actually play? But that's a whole different topic. Then what companies have done, maybe smartly on their behalf, is that they've gone through and made series of games. So the games are numbered, right? So here's game one in this series. Then game two comes out, three. And man, when you put those games up on a shelf, you really want to put them all next to each other.
Yep.
And what are all your gamer friends gonna think when you don't have game number three in the 10 game series, right? You got all other nine, and it's an interesting situation. And I got myself into a little bit of a quandary, I'll call it that, with so one of my uh, one publisher that I really like a lot, and I like a lot of their games, is Queen Games. They've been around forever. Don't necessarily like all of their games, but I do like a lot of their more popular games. And they came out with, I think they called it the City series. What the heck was it? Yeah, the City Collection. So these are games by a designer called Stefan Feld, which I don't know if you've played any of his games, but he's a very highly regarded publisher. I mean, designer. He's made a ton of games. And so Queen is coming out with a whole bunch of their games, of his games, and they are, I'll call them deluxe versions. So they're all named after cities. So there's Hamburg, Amsterdam, New York, Marrakesh. And the two latest ones are on Kickstarter right now, and they're number 5 and 6.
Uh-huh.
See, right?
Yep.
5 and 6 of the Stefan Feld City collection. And I got stuck with the first two, which I think were Hamburg and Amsterdam, where they were redoing some of his older games, like retheming them. And I'm like, I like these games. These look really cool. Let me go in and back these. I'm fine with buying a new version, and I've done this with a bunch of games in the past that I enjoy and have no problem with it. And then when the Kickstarter came out, the Queen made two different versions. So there's like a regular version, which is going to be in retail, and
Classic.
then there's yeah, we'll call it classic, and then there's the
The
deluxified version that has
Yep.
like
I see your problem. I'm looking at it right now.
which one are you looking at, the
I
Vienna
I
and Cuzco, or
no, I'm looking at the Queen's game shop,
okay.
and I see the four games you mentioned. I see there's four in classic and there's four in deluxe, and the boxes are different.
Oh yeah.
So how can you can't have two of the classics and then two of the deluxe, because then the boxes aren't even correct.
Yeah, and on
That's
top of
going to
that,
look bad on your shelf too.
yeah, and the deluxe components, they have like acrylic pieces, and instead of punched cardboard, it's like really
Yep.
nice pieces, really great components. There's a ton of add-ons as well, um, which I'm really not interested in. Like they have like their little player dudes, the meeples, right, where they're acrylic and they're like printed, so it's an actual like character. Like I'm looking at the ones. Which game is this? This is for Vienna, and it's got like this dude in a trench coat, and is wearing suspenders. Whereas like the regular game's probably regular meeples, I'm guessing. Actually, maybe they have pictures of the regular ones. Actually, why would they? Yeah, yeah. Actually, they are. Yeah, they're just stamped wooden meeples, and so yeah, I got in on the deluxe version of the first. Was it Hamburg and Amsterdam?
Okay.
And they're kind of pricey. But I was like, I like these older games. They're good games. Fine. And then they came out with two more, and I'm like, ah, man, fine. Let me get the deluxe versions of these as well. And now they got two more, and it's freaking expensive. It's like
Yeah.
each game is like over $100, and you know I almost feel compelled to buy it and not go for the classic edition. But the thing
Right.
is that's stupid about this is that it's the same game. It's technically the same game experience, just one is maybe more visually or tactilely. That's not a word. It's a better tactile experience, right? Because you have these nice acrylic pieces as opposed to
Right.
the cardboard. And I just think it's an interesting situation because I was thinking about how dumb it was. Like, why am I suckered into buying this? But I am, and I backed it at the deluxe version. And maybe the only thing that makes me feel better is like people spend a lot more on other games.
Yeah.
It's $100 a game. Actually, it's a little more than $100. But the thing that's just killing me is that there's so many of them. I mean, like we talked about Castles of Burgundy that I back the new version of it. What by was it a Weekend Realms? Whoever it was, it was like $160, but that's like one of my favorite games of all time, and I think it's so worth it. But these other ones, man, I just found myself in this weird situation of just being compelled for their reimagined versions. Oh yeah, so yeah, Vienna is like La Isla, and Cuzco is a game called Bora Bora, and I forgot what the other ones were. The other ones were like, oh man, the one with the windrows. Anyway,
Wow.
I don't remember, but yeah, and on top of like being as expensive as they are, they have tons of add-ons. Like you can buy like what coins usually and other stuff. I don't think they have play mats, but you know, it's the one thing that I have kicked though a little bit is that I no longer feel compelled after I don't know how many years in the hobby. I don't feel compelled to buy expansions anymore.
Yeah.
I'll uh, I'll oftentimes skip the expansions just because I don't play a lot of the expansions, and a lot of them that I have played the expansions, I don't like how they change the game. Um,
Yeah, I bought 3 expansions for Wingspan and have yet to even open the boxes.
yeah.
Because there's so much, like, Wingspan's just got so much going for it. And again, when you've got so many games, when are you gonna get to play those?
Hmm.
You know? It's,
Right. And
I
and if you're
yeah,
introducing people to the game, like your mom,
you're gonna play the base game.
yeah, exactly. Because the expansions like usually amp up the difficulty somewhat, and it's too much for people to take on
Yeah.
for a first play. So, I did kick that habit for the most part. Um, I found a new one, the completionist of the series. I'm really hoping there isn't like 15, 16 titles to the series. That won't be good. But at least they spread it out. It's like one every year or two. But
The, yeah, the Stefan whatever, the city thing that you're
Feld,
talking about,
yeah.
the all-in deluxe bundle is $890.
Is that just for the current one, or is that all 6 games?
It gives you all 6 games. It looks like it gives you everything. Like these coin sets, gold card packs,
Oh yeah.
but it's Vienna, Cuzco, yeah, Hamburg, Amsterdam, New York, Marrakesh. Yeah, it's all the
Hmm.
games in their deluxe. But yeah, it's like $900, man.
Yeah, and
Plus shipping.
plus, I was about to say plus shipping. But the interesting thing about that is like if you look at the bottom of it, so this is a limited series of this. It's limited to 35 pledges, and there's 4 left. So 31 people have currently pledged 890 plus for this. But the thing is, it's like the games do have a serial number to them, and I thought I read like if you purchased the prior games, you're going to get the same number. So like if you get you know, box 23 out of what 1000 or 1500 or whatever it is, you're going
Yeah.
to get box 23 across all of them.
Yeah, it says, yeah, you'll receive the same number between 1501 and 1600 for all 6 games on that deluxe bundle.
Okay.
So they must be making what, only 100 or 99 copies of that, and there's only 4 left, like you said, in that
Yeah.
all-in deluxe.
Oh, it says all backers of 4 games in the Steffenfeld City collection in one of the 2 previous campaigns will get the same numbers. If you're a new backer, you will get a number of 2,000 plus.
Oh, okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I had to drop out of that Marvel United because I was the Marvel United multiverse campaign that they find that actually closed out. I jumped on that because I was like, "Oh, we like this," and I got so many expansions now, it's ridiculous. And I bought the
Yeah.
big, huge player mat, which was worth it. But
Yeah.
I had to pay premium because I had to get that off like eBay. But I did
Mhm.
get a new version, new one in the box, and it's double sided. But um, yeah, but it was like that Kickstarter got up to like $500 because they
Yeah.
kept adding like all these like
Sure.
expansions and kept adding and kept adding. And it was like, it finally at $500, I was like, this is insane. Like, I already have a ton of this game and it's basically the same thing. Just, you're just changing out. And that's the thing about this game. They're really only changing out the hero and the villains, but it's still essentially the
Mhm.
same game. Why would I pay? And that was when I quit. I'm like, I dropped out at that point. They still added more stuff. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know what the final all in was, but I would imagine it was probably $700-800 as well. And I'm like, no way. I
Yeah.
can't do that.
And
But
they did that
I was in that
plan.
same thing. I was like, I've got this and we got to have them all. And that's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just looking at this. So Hamburg is a reimplementation of Bruges, which is I like Bruges. Amsterdam is Macau. That's the Windrose one. That's a good game, older game. New York is Rialto, which is decent. Marrakesh is a brand new game. Vienna is La Isla. Cuzco is Bora Bora, which is good. Then there are 2 more probably coming out next year. Paddy Putra, which is a new game, and then Nassau, which is Rum and Pirates reimplementation. So man, at least I got to prepare myself mentally for another 2. And I can't stop at 6. They know how to extract the money out of my pocket, apparently. But anyway, how long we've been talking?
Yeah, they
Oh, about an
did. Let's
hour.
see. They added. So I'm looking back at that multi or Marvel United. So they have an Omniverse pledge of 360 as their highest, but that is not including everything they had. Because I when I dropped, my pledge was at 500, and I was like, no way,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
out. Unless they changed. Oh man, that's so cool.
Uh-oh.
Fing Fang Foom. They got a Fin Fang Foom miniature. Kickstarter
Oh,
exclusive.
is that dragon?
Yes.
Oh, from okay. Yeah,
Oh
nice.
man. That looks so cool. That was not part of it when I was in. Probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they've added a bunch of stuff.
See, they
Oh
know
my gosh.
exactly
Cause
how
see,
to
then
do it.
there's I gotta see if they got a ton of expansions. They must have lowered their price because now it's including all these expansions. It looks like it's including everything that I was going to get. Oh, plus a whole bunch of plastic tokens?
Dude, close that tab immediately. I'm your
Hold
friend.
on.
I'm your
Hold
friend.
on.
I'm looking out for your best interest.
There's so many things. It's like $20, $15, $20, $40.
Yeah.
The pet companions.
No, I remember seeing something about like, consumer, I'll call manipulation, um, of like, let's say if you have a product that you want to, or that you need 200 for, right? That's your selling price. It's a lot easier to start off at like 75 and keep adding to it.
Yeah.
And then the people gradually increase like their pledge. And next thing you know, they're at 200 rather than just 200 out the gate, right? Because then people are like, oh,
Yeah.
no way. So the lower price, is the gateway. And then it's easy, super easy to just tag on 10. It's like nickel and diming you. That's like, cutting the cord, right? You get
Yeah.
rid of cable and now you're paying for Netflix and, YouTube TV and your internet and HBO and all these Disney, and you're right back where you were.
Yep. No, I'm not spending the
Yeah.
money on those. It's no. Not doing it. I got so many of the already, and it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
don't need to spend the money on it.
No, I
So
hear
I
you. I
actually
hear you.
stopped looking at Kickstarter. It's like I need some of these to come in first.
Yeah.
So
Then you get into the thing of you forgot about it, and then this box shows up, and it's like, oh yeah, I backed this 2 years ago. I remember now. Anyway,
like, what is this?
hmm it's like,
So
oh, surprise, or you get the, you know, whatever insert logistics company here is shipping you a game, arriving tomorrow. What is this? I don't read my Kickstarter stuff. I don't have time to read all the updates and where the files are and that the thing's on a ship somewhere, and so then things just show up.
yeah, I think it's easier like when you are getting in like at a ground up, like when you're starting out, like Marvel Villainous. I've got every expansion, and they announced a new one coming out,
Okay.
and I tried to pre-order it, but like I missed it. Like it wasn't showing on the freaking Target's webpage, and
Yeah.
like they have a special chromed character um, if you're able to get it. But their pre-orders have sold out. But it's like $30, like and they're only putting them out like if it's only one a year, it's like no problem. Like then, yes, I'm going to have them all.
Sure.
But to get everything, and you're investing $500 or something, it's like,
Mhm.
yo,
Yeah.
that's insane. So going back and like trying to get a game that that's older, like you were talking about, and then trying to like, ooh, I like this. Now I need all the rest of them. That's Ticket to Ride's a good example. Where do you pull the plug on that one? Because there's a million expansions to that too, and some people might feel compelled to have them all. And I've looked at a bunch, and I was like, no, no,
Yeah. At some
we've got the
point,
one we
it's
really
right.
like. Yeah,
At some point, it's like more of the same.
yeah,
You know.
and interesting too. I think Ticket to Ride's a good one for me, and the Marvel United, where it's just like, okay, I don't need this because the one got too costly,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is stupid. The other one, Ticket to Ride, I bought one of the smaller versions, the San Francisco game,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
and I didn't really like it. And so now it's like, okay, I don't, the original game is great. We really like Rails and Sails, and that's probably the only one we'll play now going forward.
Sure.
But yeah, I really don't need any of these 8,000 different expansions that they have on that. I really don't.
Yeah.
And so it's good because I'm one that's like, I really like to have a full collection. I really do. But those type of two incidences is like, okay, I don't need it, which will help me. Because then honestly, why have 12 versions of Ticket to Ride when I could have one Ticket to Ride and 11 other games
Hmm.
that provide new experiences?
Yeah.
So, or every copy or that you're buying, it does keep you from buying potentially playing something new.
Oh,
So,
heck yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have like lists of all the different versions of like Ticket to Ride, and they like rank them, and everybody has their favorite portion of it, and like you said, there's a million of them, right?
yeah.
Spread all over the country. Um, you got the smaller ones that are like more regional. You got the country ones, or I'll say the continental ones, right? Like the U.S. and Europe. I think isn't there like a Japan one or something?
Oh,
Yeah,
there is a Japan. Yep. There's a
and
bunch, but it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like, yeah, changing a little mechanic or the board, the map doesn't. Maybe one little mechanic doesn't really justify maybe the large price that you had to buy to
yeah,
get the.
mhm,
But it is tough. You want them all.
yeah. And and the thing to think about it too is like if like certain maps, depending on the game, right? They have different complexities, right? Because of how complex the connections are. But in the end, it's like the map really doesn't matter. It's all about, think of it like having like circles on a piece of paper and then having these connections in between them all. It's like in the end, it doesn't really matter if you put your circles in the shape of Europe or like Germany or the United States. It's all kind of the same thing, just pasted onto a map of some country. Anyway, yeah, there was oh man, there was an expansion that they had to the original game. It was called 1910, I think. And I could have sworn I have it, but I haven't played Ticket to Ride in so many years. I don't. It's a little fuzzy for me. I could have sworn that it had like full size cards.
Oh,
So
really?
I hate those little cards.
Yeah. Yeah, 1910.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was about
there's
to
a
look it up.
1912.
Oh,
You better
really?
get the 1912 as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1910.
That's the USA 1910, and there's a 1912 Europe, it looks like.
Yeah, it has 181 large format cards, and it also includes 35 new 1910 destinations, a bonus card, some mystery train things.
Also, it's just cards that you
Yeah.
use the regular map with.
hmm So
Nope. Nope. Not doing it.
it's little, it's cheap.
No. It ain't cheap on shelf space.
Oh, it is. It can just go in the original box.
Yeah, right.
No, serious.
No, but
It.
you gotta keep the box.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do. You got to keep the box. I can't. I've got my dice throne. I bought miniatures for Dice Throne Adventures,
hmm
and they came in two different boxes. Well, the boxes are empty because the miniatures are in the Dice Throne Adventures massive box, but I have to have that box on the shelf, those two boxes on the shelf.
That's funny.
I own it. It has to be on display
I understand.
so that every time I walk into my office, because me and my kids are the only ones that come in here, we have to know that those miniatures are owned.
hmm
It's so stupid. Oh goodness,
Yeah, good times.
fun stuff.
Anyway,
Did you?
you wanna call it here? Been a little bit
Yeah.
over an hour.
Yep.
Or
I got
were
nothing
you gonna say
else.
something?
No, I was just gonna ask if you purchased anything new this last 2 weeks.
Um, I did go to a store, but I think that was the day before our last recording.
Because you had
So
stuff last time.
yeah, yeah.
So
I don't think so. Yeah, my money in the past 2 weeks went into other more expensive things. Valentine's Day and other stuff.
oh
Yeah. So all right,
no,
let's
I didn't get anything either.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I got to
so
save for the con.
exactly. And
so
and I know we talked about this off podcast a while ago, but you're like, I'm just going there for the experience. No, you're gonna buy stuff, dude. Save some money. You're gonna get some stuff because they're gonna have it there. You're gonna want it. You're gonna play a demo, and you're like, I really like this. Oh wait, it's right there on the shelf, and it's not gonna be in retail for another couple months. It won't be until Christmas. Yeah, you'll get it, and you'll pay
okay.
full price, and you'll like it.
So bring a really big suitcase
Yes.
and then pack just like one outfit in the suitcase that I can wear every day at the con and save all the rest of the room for board games to bring back.
No, what you do is you bring two suitcases, you put one inside the other, and you put your clothes inside the smaller one.
Okay.
You have two suitcases on your return.
There you go.
Yeah. No, but what I've
And I'm bringing my daughter, so really I could bring 4 suitcases.
there you go. Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, the thing I was going to mention is that like the first couple of times I got everything that I like really wanted, especially the things that were not in retail. And what I started doing is I'm more selective now, just because in the end, like if you buy 10 games, you're not necessarily going to be playing all 10 of them
Exactly.
before they hit retail. So I'll just pick the ones that I really, really, really like, and then I'll get those. And then the stuff that, is a little less on the acquisition disorder scale, that one, those games I'm fine with just, you know, getting a mail order from the local stores when they come out in a couple months or even weeks. It's like I
Yeah.
alluded to initially when we started talking about this. It used to be that there were a ton of games that premiered at the show that weren't going to be available in retail. Now they seem to be more readily available around the time of the show. So I don't know if the publishers are getting better with their release schedules and trying to coordinate them better or what, but I think there's a little bit less of that going on nowadays. All right. So that's enough of that. Yeah, if any viewers have any, thoughts on what we talked about or anything like that, just we'd love to hear from you. Either go to our website, let us know through the voicemail thing on there. It's on the right hand side of the screen. You can leave us a voicemail up to 90 seconds in length, and we'll play it on the show. If you're going to be talking longer than 90 seconds, then just leave a couple and we'll stitch it together at the show. And then, or when we play it on the show. And then you can also email us at contact at this board game life, or you can do a response on the posting on the website for the show. There's a whole ton of ways you can get a hold of us, and there's a guild on Board Game Geek as well. And, uh, pick one, whatever your favorite is. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's call it an episode there, episode 42. That's a good one. A nice long discussion. We didn't talk a whole lot about
Yeah.
games initially. Like, we spent a couple episodes talking like 30, 45 minutes just about what we've been playing. Now we kind of flipped the show where we talked mainly about a couple of two topics and
Yeah.
stuff. So good show, good show.
Always good stuff to talk about no matter what.
Absolutely. All right. So my name is Rob. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you all next time on episode 43.
And I am Mark. I'll see you at the table.